So how many of you out there can remember those arguments you had with your friends on the playground as a kid about which console was the best? Which games were the best? Who had the best exclusive titles? Trust me, I can remember as a kid arguing Sega versus Nintendo, and then of course later PlayStation versus Microsoft versus Nintendo. And it's funny how as I've gotten older, console wars and where you play has become so much less of an issue, and I think I know why. You see, as a kid, so many of us were limited to just one console. My parents could not understand the need of another console. You have this, why do you need that? And so as a result of this, we form teams. We form our own little tribe around our console, and we want to fight for our console to be the best because after all, it's the only one we're gonna have until the next generation. As I've gotten older though, and have had more disposable income where I can afford having multiple consoles, I'm really starting to see the absurdity of all of this, and how at the end of the day, the hardware itself actually matters very little. In fact, in today's environment, we're seeing a shift away from exclusives, with Microsoft going all in by offering all of their first-party titles on PC day one, right alongside the console counterpart. On the other hand, you have Nintendo, who continues to make titles exclusively for their platform alone. It wasn't until 2016 that they finally started making mobile games even, featuring some of their most iconic characters. And somewhere in the middle you have PlayStation, who have recently dipped their toe into the PC market by releasing titles like Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves, and even the 2018 God of War. It certainly doesn't seem like their first-party titles will be hitting PC the same day as consoles in the immediate future, but according to President and CEO Jim Ryan, it certainly sounds like PlayStation is getting ready to make a massive shift in its gaming business that will be transformational for the company and ultimately change the face of PlayStation as we know it.
We have big plans for FY22 and beyond, with exponential growth anticipated in the year just begun, and with the opportunity for our new live services strategy to boost our PC revenues even more aggressively in the years to come.
Ryan recently spoke with investors about the state of PlayStation, and this talk included a wide range of subjects, including PlayStation on PC, mobile, live service games, the metaverse, and even when he ultimately expects the PS5 supply issues to finally subside, which sadly doesn't look like it will happen until next year. When it comes to PlayStation titles on PC, there are a few slides of interest, and it actually starts with the very first slide Ryan shares. You can see here they've identified PS5 and PS4 as their thriving core business. So essentially, PlayStation currently views home consoles as the major cog in their thriving core business. Next, we have a section highlighting new growth vectors across three categories: commercial, portfolio, and audience. The one we're focused on in this video is the third one, the audience, which lists PC, mobile, and beyond console as growth opportunities. We won't talk much about beyond console in this video, but essentially that's expanding to more things like movies and TV shows. Slides 31 through 35 expand on the audience piece further, and there you'll see that Sony is expecting exponential growth from their PC titles in 2022 and beyond. Just take a look at the graph here. They expect the revenue from PC to nearly quadruple in the 2022 fiscal year alone. Now, if we jump to slide 34, this one shows a color-coded graph, and judging from the light blue section, we can see that PlayStation expects to double the amount of PC titles they release by 2025. Now, in the Q&A that followed Ryan's presentation, he was asked for further clarification on this particular slide. The investor wanted to know if half the titles will be on PC and mobile, will half of the profits also be from PC and mobile by 2025? Ryan responded by saying that PlayStation Studios has historically executed wonderfully in first-party, narrative-rich, single-player games, but we have restricted ourselves to a narrow segment of the gaming market. By expanding to PC and mobile and live services, we have the opportunity to move from a very narrow segment of the overall gaming software market to being present everywhere. The opportunity for significant growth in the number of people who play our games is potentially an extremely large one. Now, to me, this is nothing but a good thing. 13-year-old me would have been saying, "You're crazy, what are you thinking? They can't put their games on other consoles. They can't put their games on PC." And from where I'm sitting now, I actually think that is not the truth. I agree with Ryan here. The potential for growth in the number of people who are playing PlayStation games is immense. And at the end of the day, that's where the money is made. Trust me, I love hardware. I love new console launches. I love the new controllers. And I think they can actually continue to release new hardware. Even if they start releasing their first-party games day and date on PC, which doesn't seem like they're doing that yet, but even if they do go that route, I just think there there are enough people out there who prefer the ecosystem of a console opposed to a PC that they would continue to choose that. And honestly, I would even love a future where we have like a super low budget console. I actually love what Microsoft did with the Xbox Series S. So I could see Sony releasing that super cheap, super budget friendly console for people who just want to get into the ecosystem. Then you have that sort of middle tier, which is for the wide ranging gaming public. And then you release titles on PC as well, which is for the people who want the absolute best top of the line graphics, top of the line performance. And for any of you who know your gaming history, you know that very often, especially early in the life of a console, the console makers very often have to take a loss on the console and then hope to make their money back through things like PlayStation Plus and the actual sale of the games. Now, personally, I'm in kind of an interesting boat here where I have had a gaming PC for a number of years now, despite being a console kid most of my life. And I definitely had a little phase where I preferred the PC, but now I actually find myself slowly gravitating toward console again. I don't want to get too deep into it because I know that gets a lot of arguments going, but even as someone right now who literally has a gaming PC sitting beside me and a console sitting beside me, there are times, even when it's some of the same games, that I will choose to play a console over the PC. Now, Jim Ryan also talked at length about the upcoming live service games from PlayStation, saying they currently have 12 in development. And he even believes that if only a portion of these enjoy what he called a critical and commercial success, the impact over time will be completely transformational to their business structure. If you've been a fan of PlayStation for a while, then I completely get why hearing this could make you feel a bit uneasy. You know, change, it's difficult. Sometimes it results in good things, sometimes it results in not so good things. And I feel like, at least right now, I feel like a lot of PlayStation's core fan base are folks who say, we do not want these live service games. We want our story-driven, Last of Us, Infamous, Uncharted. These are the style of games. Ghost of Tsushima, this is what we want more of. So trust me, I get it if you feel a little bit uneasy. And I honestly, I believe Ryan and a lot of folks at PlayStation, I think they do genuinely care about gamers. But at the end of the day, guys, it is a company, and we always have to remember, especially for someone in a position like Ryan, at the end of the day, he answers to the investors, and their primary goal will always be to make more money. And so with the incredible success of live service titles, PlayStation would be foolish not to try. But again, to so many of us, our love of PlayStation comes from those single-player, story-driven titles. And I'll be completely straight with you, no one knows for sure what PlayStation would do if these live service games take off. Do they decide to say, hey, you know what, let's put even more resources into this and let's kind of slowly phase out of doing these first-party single-player games? That's not what they're saying right now, and personally, I don't see them abandoning those core first-party story-driven games anytime soon. For one, I think you look at some of the acquisitions they've been making. They continue to build up their stable of first-party developers by acquiring more talent like Insomniac, Housemarque, and Bluepoint, developers who excel at those single-player story-driven games. Housemarque not so much in the story department, but in gameplay, top-notch gameplay, and then hey, with Returnal, they did start to try and do a little bit more with the story as well. Of course, Bluepoint, we know about their history in porting various titles. They're an incredibly talented studio that can help in a lot of different areas. Plus, PlayStation is also in the process of acquiring Bungie, whom they have said they expect to be instrumental in helping with these live service endeavors. So my point here is, at least right now, it's not like they're taking the team from Sucker Punch who made Ghost of Tsushima and saying, hey, we're going to put you guys on a live service game now, or they're taking the team who made The Last of Us and saying, all right, you're doing live service now. From everything we've seen and heard so far, they are interested in growing the overall business. And so as they grow the overall business, a lot of times the only way to do that is by doing new things, trying some new things, while keeping that core business focus firmly in their view. Honestly, the entire presentation and subsequent Q&A with the investors, I think is worth a watch if you're a fan of PlayStation or even just a fan of gaming in general and kind of understanding more about the business side and what they're talking about. I say behind the scenes, but I guess it's not really behind the scenes because this one's public, but it definitely puts you more in that business mindset. And me at 12 years old would have never imagined me making a video like this, saying some of these things, but I truly believe console wars, they're becoming a thing of the past. Brands and services they provide, they are becoming the focus. They are becoming far more important than the hardware itself. It's about the games, it's about the IP, it's about the service, much more so than the hardware. I can't wait to hear what you guys think about this. Let me know in the comments below. Are you looking forward to more PC games from PlayStation? Or do you wish they would stick to just making their games for console? As always, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.